Namaste. Welcome to Flutter Beginners Tutorial Series. Flutter has become one of the popular cross-platform application development framework in very short term. With already thousands of mobile apps on production developed on Flutter, Flutter is now moving beyond mobile with Flutter Desktop and Flutter Web, both of which are in developer preview. In this tutorial series, we will learn to develop a complete mobile application using Flutter and Firebase from scratch. Believe me, this will not be a passive app development course. As with every video, I would like your input on what to implement next, what UI or features to implement. I want to get active participation from you all so that I can make this tutorial as you would want it. Basically, my objective in this tutorial series is to together learn some basics of Flutter, to learn to use provider package for state management, and use Firebase as backend for authentication and database. In this tutorial, we will learn to create new Flutter application and some basics of Flutter application. We will learn to authenticate users using Firebase Auth and Google Sign-in. And we will also learn to perform basic database operation, create, read, update, and delete in Firebase Firestore. Also, we'll use provider package for state management. And along the way, we will implement more extra features based on your feedback and suggestion. To get started with this tutorial, you will need the following: a computer with Flutter installed and configured. We will mostly be using Android to run and test our Flutter app so that everyone can follow. So, any system, Mac, Windows, or Linux will do. It is better if you know the basics of programming as well as some basics of object-oriented programming. This is not an absolute requirement, but if you know the basics, you will understand the code more easily. No prior experience with Dart or Flutter is required, but it is a plus point. The application that we will be developing in this series is a notes application that will allow us to create, edit, and delete our notes. We will even learn to attach and upload images to our notes. Moreover, we will add other features suggested by you all along the way. So, please take part actively and help make this tutorial better for you. Thank you for watching this video. In the next video, we will start the series by designing a wireframe of our UI. Thank you. Hello. Welcome to the first episode of Flutter Complete App Tutorial. In this tutorial series, we will learn Flutter by developing a complete app in Flutter from scratch. As discussed in the introduction video of this series, we will be developing a notes application and we'll add some extra features based on your feedback. So please take part actively and give us feedback on what would you like to learn. In this episode, we are going to design wireframe for UI of our application. We will start by wireframing the login and sign up UI. For this, you can use any software of your choice. Here, I am using Gravit Designer free version, which is available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So, let's start and design the login page. In the new design section here, we can either choose from a list of devices provided here for our wireframe, or we can use a custom size. So, if you are on a software other than Gravit Designer, please use custom size. So here I'll be using Google Pixel 2 XL 401 by 731 px. In other softwares you can use this custom size. The page 1 will be our sign-in page. So let me rename this sign-in page. And let's build a basic wireframe for our sign-in page. Here I'll just be using rectangles. A top rectangle, maybe this will be our logo. Let me align it vertically center. And let's create bunch of other rectangles. So let's say this is for email address field. And Alt and duplicate. This is for password field. Maybe this is a sign in button. And this sign in with Google button. So let me just add text, email address. Let's bring this here. So let's make a copy of this email address and let's make this password, and let's again copy this, vertically center, sign in, center this, okay, and finally sign in Google and center. This will be the basic outline of our sign in page. So let's create a new page, call it sign up page, and for this let me go to sign in page, Control A, Control C, copy everything, and Control V, paste it here. And let's move this a little bit further and let's make sign in, sign up, and let's duplicate this password field and let's make this confirm password. Okay, so this will be the basic outline of our sign up page. We'll not go into designing the details because in the next episode we'll be designing this UI in Flutter application and there we'll be adding the details. So if you have any suggestions for sign in and sign up page for our application that is to be designed in the next episode in Flutter, please do send us in our Facebook page or here in comments. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. Subscribe and hit the bell button to get notified about the next episode. Hello, welcome to episode 2 of Flutter Complete App Tutorial. In this episode, we are going to create a new Flutter project and implement our sign up and login screen. So let's get started. To create a new project, we'll use terminal and use flutter create command. Create, and we'll give the project a name. Flutter Notes App. Press enter. I'm using the latest version of Flutter, Flutter 1.9.1 hotfix 4. So if you are not in the latest version, you can upgrade your Flutter just by running the flutter upgrade command. Okay, so the new project has created. I can now do cd Flutter Notes App and I can open this app in Visual Studio Code. I have opened my Flutter Notes App project in Visual Studio Code. So you can use Visual Studio Code or Android Studio for following this tutorial. However, if you use the VS Code, it will be easier to follow. So now I'll start my emulator. Let me resize this screen. Okay. So first thing I'll do is I'll run the app. Okay. The app is building. During that time, let me remove these comments. And let me open popspec.aml, and again let me remove all of these comments. Well, now the app is successfully built and running. This is the demo app provided by Flutter when we do Flutter create. It's a counter app that counts the number of times we have pressed this button. So for this project, I'll just remove this whole my home page widget. Then change the title to Flutter Notes. Okay. And let's change this my home page to home page. And now it's time to create this home page. We'll just create a simple widget. Let me go to lib. Let me create a new folder, UI. In here, I'll create yet another folder, pages, and inside pages, I'll create home.dart. For now, I'll just use a simple stateless widget. Extends stateless widget, and it will give us error. Let us implement the build function, and instead of returning null, we'll return a scaffold. And here we'll return app bar will be app bar title Flutter Notes, and body, let's just use a container center with child text in Flutter. Okay. Now in main.dart we need to import, so let's import UI pages home. So okay, our app has hot reloaded, and we can see now Flutter Notes application in Flutter in the center. So this is just the demo page. So first thing we'll do is we'll create our login page. To do that, in the UI pages, inside pages, let's create another folder called Auth. And in the Auth folder, let's create a new file, login.dart. Okay. Here again, first I'll start with stateless widget. I'll use the code snippet provided by awesome Flutter widgets, Flutter snippets extension in VS Code. I'll provide the link in the description below. So let's name it login page, and instead of container we'll use scaffold, and we'll not use the app bar. We'll directly go to body, and body will be a single child scroll view with a child of column. Column will take children. Here the first children will be our logo and then other widgets. So first let me change this home page to login page so that we can see the preview. Login page. Okay, we can now see the preview. So here the first children will be our logo. For logo, for now we'll just use a container, no child. Let's use decoration, box decoration, and let's give a color green, and let's give it white. Let's give the scaffold a background color of green color, like lime color, light green. Okay, this is better for our notes application. And this is color stored white. let's give a shape of box shape.circle shape. Let's give it a circular shape, and let's give it a width of let's say 60 points, and again height of 60.0. Okay, so there we have it. We need to place this at center, and this should come a little bit down, further down. So let's use a sized box of height. Let's say toolbar height. Okay, so we give the toolbar height, then it will take the amount of height taken by our app bar. So our logo is down further. So now let's make this 80. Okay, 80. So logo size is okay for now, and let me align this at the center. So to do that, I'll wrap this column with a new widget, sized box, and give it a width of double that infinity, so it takes the whole width. Okay, now again, after the logo, let's use sign in with Google button. So let's use a raised button. Color should be red. Child text, let's make it continue with Google, and then on trust, let's make it a empty function for now. Okay, and text color start white. Nice. So we need to install our buttons in the whole app in similar fashion. To do that, we'll use our theme. So in theme, first thing we'll change is our primary swatch would be color start green. And let us provide our button with a theme, button theme. So it takes button theme data object, and let's give it a color. So button color should be, so we'll use the primary color, text theme, let's say button text theme dot primary, and maybe shape. So we'll provide the shape of rounded rectangle border, border radius dot circular 30, so that our button is round, circular, and this is border radius. So let's see what other properties are there. Focus color, height, minimum width, padding. So symmetric padding, no, let's use all side 16-point padding. Okay, this looks good. Button looks good to me. So maybe let's use symmetric vertical 16.0 and horizontal 32.0. Okay, this looks better. So now here we need to provide a little bit of space between this logo and continue with Google button. So here we'll use a size box with height, let's say 30 points. Yeah, now after this we need a username and password field. So first, let's separate this again with size box of height, let's say 30 points, and here text field, we'll use text form field so that later we can use form to submit our validate our fields and submit our form. So let's use text form field, and decoration, input decoration, hint text, let's say text, sorry, it's a string, hint text is a string. So this is email address. Maybe instead of hint text we'll use level so that we'll have a floating level. Okay, so now we have a floating level. Now in the main.dart, we'll again install these text field widgets in our theme so that across the app we have a same feeling. So input decoration theme, input decoration theme object. Okay, so let's say content padding. So content padding should be vertical 8, horizontal 16.0, and border, let's use outline input border, border radius dot circular 4.0. Okay, so I think we need vertical padding a little bit more. I think we need all side padding of 16, all 16. Yeah, this looks better. So okay, good. And main, I think we used, instead of green we used light green. So let's change this light green. Okay, so here the highlight border and everything is similar to the background color, so it's not being visible, so we'll change that a little bit later. So I think this is okay for now for our input field. So let's add some padding here so that this text field has some padding at the side. So in our scroll view, let's use padding. All side padding of 16 points. Okay, we can see the text field clearly. And maybe for a scaffold background, we'll use a little bit lighter than this with opacity of 0.3. Let's try this. Okay, so if we give the opacity, it takes the dark black color of nothingness. So maybe instead of this, what I'll do is, this is okay, we'll use the light green color, but for our form, from this and below, let me wrap this in a container, child column children. So let me move this in here, and this box decoration color white, border radius dot circular 10.0. Okay, and let's give it a padding of 16 points. Yeah, this is email address field. Let's duplicate this field and make a password field. Let's separate these two by a sized box of height 16. Okay, looks good. Email, password. Maybe we'll style these level text. So let's say here level style, text style, color is fine. So font size for 14.0. It's smaller. Let's use 18. Okay, good enough. Colors dot gray, said let's say 700. This is 600. W 500 maybe. Medium. No. Okay, so this is okay. Now we need a sign in button and a button that links to sign up page. So in login, let's add a sized box, height 20, and let's use a raised button, text login on pressed. Let's give it a empty. And text color, I think instead of primary, button text theme dot primary. So maybe accent color will give us no. Primary, so it's green. Let me try here, text color. Okay. Login button. Maybe I'll use the sized box. I'll use container. Let's give a width of double.infinity. And let's give a padding. Symmetric vertical padding should be 0 and horizontal padding should be 32. Okay, so as vertical padding is 0, we can just remove this. Okay, so I think this is better, and maybe before this email address field we'll give a title here that says text here that says login. And let me style this with theme of context dot texttem dot display1. Okay, yeah, let's separate this with sized box of height 20. Okay, so this is a pretty simple login form, and maybe after this container here we'll use another button, outline button, if we use this, okay, so outline button, child text sign up, and on pressed color, and maybe colors white color. Let me style this. Font weight bold. Font size, let's say 11.0. Okay, and maybe color start white. Border size color start white. Okay, so focus color, highlight color also. If we do color start white, this will not show the text, so maybe text color, let's leave it as black. No, black. Okay, font size, maybe let's make it 16. Okay, and here let's separate by size box of height 20. Okay, so we are almost done with the login screen, but before we move on to sign up screen, I'd like to make a couple of adjustments. The very first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to add a keyword action so that when a user presses that action in this email address field, it moves to password field. Okay, to do that we use focus node and the keyboard input action. So first, in email address, text input action should be changed to text input action.next. Doing this will change the button, but it will do nothing. So what we need to do is first we need to create a focus node. So let me create a focus node. Focus node. So password field, and here in the password field I'll provide focus node as password field, and in email address on input editing complete, what I'll do is focus scope of context dot request focus password field. Okay, so when I press the next, the password field is highlighted, and when I press done, it's gone. Now what I'd like to do is, instead of making a separate sign up page, I just want to use this same page and just change this portion of the form, that login form, into sign up form when I press this sign up button. So to do that, first I'll extract all of these part into a separate widget called login widget. So let's see. This part starts from K toolbar height, this is logo, and this is continue with Google button. Okay, so this is our login widget. So in order to extract this, in VS Code I'll use Control and dot shortcut key, and then here I'll use extract widget. This widget will be called login form. Okay, let's just remove this field, and this focus node should also be kept in login form. So let me remove this from here. Let me copy this, and in login form create this, and I will not be using this. Okay, so it should still do the same things. Yeah, so we can do next. Okay, now I'll create a separate sign up form. To do that, I'll just copy this login form. I'll duplicate this login form because we'll have the same field, just confirm password field will be added. I have duplicated this, and let me change this login form to sign up form, and we'll use two focus node because after password field there will be confirm password field. So here again I'll duplicate this line and make this confirm password field, and I'll duplicate the password field okay, and make this confirm password field as focus node, and here in password field on editing complete focus scope of context dot request focus confirm password field. Okay, so let me for now here instead of login form I'll just use for now sign up so that I can see the preview. Okay, so login text should be changed. This is sign up. Okay, sign up, email address, password, and confirm password. Okay, so this button should be create account. Okay, so I have the sign up form. Now we need to be able to change this form based on this click. When I click the sign up button, initially it should show the login form, and when I click the sign up button it should show the sign up form, and here instead of sign up it should show back button. Okay, to do that, first what I'll do is I'll make this login page a stateful widget. Again, control dot and convert to stateful. We need to do hot restart because we have changed the widget into stateful. And let me initialize something here, a bool. Bool sign in form, and in init state sign in form is equals to true. Again, let me hot restart. And here instead of sign up form, what I'll do is I'll use animated switcher widget, and this child should be if sign in form is true, then sign in login form, otherwise sign up form. So based on the value of sign in form, it will be it will have different, and it needs a duration because it is a animated widget. So I'll use the duration of milliseconds 200. Okay, and when a sign up button is pressed, here I'll do set state log sign sign in form is equals to false. Okay, so when I press this, I get sign up form, but this button should also change based on this, based on the value of this sign in form boolean. So here, if sign in form true, then we go to sign up. Otherwise, we use just instead of text widget, I'll do it out here. Sign in form is true, then I'll use this text. Otherwise, icon start arrow back. Okay, I get the back icon, and in on pressed, again here sign in form should be not sign in form. So when I do back, goes to login. When I do sign up, goes to sign up. One more thing we can do is on will pop, because if we do back hardware, if we use hardware back button right here, it will close the app instead of going back to login form. So to fix that, we'll use will pop scope. So in scaffold, just wrap with new widget, will pop scope, and it takes on will pop. Here what I can do is, so it's a asynchronous. If sign in form, if not sign in form, then set state sign in form is equals to true. So here, and return false, else true. So when I am in sign up form, when I use the hardware back button, it should go to login form. Okay, this works. So we are done with the design of login and sign up form. In the next episode, we will set up Firebase related plugins in our Flutter project. We'll set up both the Firestore and Firebase authentication plugin before we move on to implementing the authentication service. Thank you everyone for watching these videos. Please, in the comment, provide your feedback or feature request or anything that you would like to add, or design request that you would like to be tutored in this tutorial series. Thank you. Namaste. Welcome to episode 3 of Flutter Complete App tutorial series. In this episode, we will set up Firebase authentication in our application. For that, we will set up the required Firebase project in Firebase console, as well as set up dependencies and add config files and set up the different functionalities required to implement the Firebase authentication. So let us get started. The very first thing we need to do is we need to set up the Firebase Auth and Google Sign-In plugin in our project. In this tutorial, I'll show you the quickest way using the package that I have created, Flutter Automation. This package helps you automatically set up all those required steps for Firebase authentication, Google Maps, Android signing, and Firestore code. But in this tutorial, we will see how to set up Firebase authentication using Flutter automation package. However, if you want to learn the complete steps required to set up Firebase authentication in your application, I have another tutorial regarding Firebase authentication. I'll provide the link in the description below. Don't forget to check it out. Now, we'll start setting up Firebase authentication using Flutter automation. For that, first open pubspec.yaml file, and in the dev dependencies section, add Flutter automation dependency. As this is dev dependencies, we do not need to specify any version, as all versions of Flutter automation are supported. This will get the latest version of Flutter automation. Package get is running and it's completed. So now from the terminal, what we can do is, I have already tried this here. So what we can do is we can run flutter pub run flutter automation -f. So this -f flag will set up Firebase authentication in our project. So if we now check the pubspec.yaml file, now there is 3 dependencies: Flutter, Firebase Auth, provider, and Google sign-in. So these are added by the Flutter automation package automatically, and some more new files in our pages directory. So in our pages directory, there is home page, login page, splash page, user info page. So be careful that our home page is replaced. If we see here, so previously our home page was this, it is now replaced with this. So be careful that if you have similar files in the similar folder structure, that will be replaced by Flutter automation. So before trying it, be sure to commit your changes so that you can revert any replaced files. So here I would like to have this home page also. So let me just copy this content and let's make a new file inside pages. Let's call this notes home.dart. Paste the content here. So this is our notes home. And as we already have designed our login page, we'll not be using this login page. However, we need to know the functions. So when login and sign in with Google is pressed, which functions are called, so that we can use those functions in our login page. Now, in order to use our login page instead of this login page, we need to change few things in the provided home.dart file. So in the home.dart file, here the login page comes from the existing login page. So instead of that, we will just import our login page that we have designed. So it's inside auth login. And next, instead of providing user info page when successfully authenticated, we would like to provide our notes home. So let's change this home page into notes home page. Okay. And here, instead of user info page, let's just use notes home page. Okay. So now we have notes home page when successfully logged in, authenticated. So this Firebase authentication automation also creates one user repository file. It's a change notifier with all the Firebase authentication functions set up, so that we can use these functions to sign in and sign in with Google in our application. Now, in our login page, first thing we'll implement is sign in with Google. So in the login form, let's find the sign in with Google button. Google. Okay. Continue with Google. And in the on-pressed, so let's check the login form provided here. So here is sign in with Google, and on-pressed, it's a asynchronous function. Let's just copy all of this, and here let us paste it. So upon sign in with Google, it will call this user.signin with Google, but we do not have user in this field. So let's create the user repository. So here user repository is provided. So let's go to our login page. In the build function, let's import provider and our user repository. And key, this key is for scaffold key. Let us create one key for our scaffold. Scaffold state underscore key. And assign this key to our scaffold. Okay, now the error is gone. So sign in with Google function is implemented. Next, we need to implement the login form. For login form to work, we need to make quite a bit of changes. First, let us change the login form into stateful wizard. Next, let us wrap our column with a form wizard. Wrap with new wizard. Form. And let us create a form key. Form state. Okay. Let us assign the form key to our form. Form key. Next, we'll create two controllers for our email field and password field. Text editing controller, email, text editing controller, password. Let's create an init state function. So here we will initialize email is equal to text editing controller, and the password is also a new text editing controller. And then in the text form field, we'll assign this is email field, so we'll assign email, and this is password field, so we'll assign password. So we now have the controller. So we can also validate validator val. So if val.is empty, then return email is required. Okay, and same for the password. validator if val is empty, return password is required. Finally, when the login button is pressed, so let's copy the function from this and we'll modify it as required. Let's paste it here. So this user, we need to pass it, we already have, or we can just get it from the provider. So here again in the build, and this key, we do not have the scaffold key, so for now we'll not show any message. We will just await user sign in. Okay, and we'll pass the email.text and password.text in order to sign in the user. Okay, our login button is also set up, and to set up sign up in the Flutter automation package, sign up is not set up. So first we need to do is, in the user repository we need to create a sign up function. So let us just copy the sign in function, duplicate this, and let's make this sign up email and password. So instead of underscore auth.signin with email and password, we do create user with email and password, and we pass the email and password. Okay, and we'll set up the sign up form according to our login form. So we'll convert the sign up form into stateful wizard, and here first let's create controllers. Controller email password and confirm password. Also let us wrap the column with the form. Let us also create form key. Okay, we have assigned the form a key. Form key. Then in the email address field, assign controller underscore email. Password field, controller password, and confirm password field underscore confirm password. Okay, again validator val if is empty, return email is required. So let's copy this validator in the password field. Let's make password is required, and same in the confirm password field. Confirm password is required. So when we do create account, let's do async, and let's copy from login So let us copy this. So user, again we need the user repository. Let's copy this and paste it inside our build function. Okay, and user dot sign up. We can add one more step. If underscore confirm password dot text is equals underscore password dot text. So these two must be equal in order to sign up. Next, we are going to create Firebase project in the Firebase console. For that, go to console.firebase.google.com. If you have not already logged in with your Google ID, log in, and there click the Add Project button. Once you click the Add Project button, you can enter your project name. Here we use Flutter Notes app and continue. Let's just disable the analytics for this project and press Create Project. It will take some time to create our project. Until then, we are going to figure out the application ID for our project that is required later. So in the build.gradle file inside Android app folder, there is this default config section inside which there is the application ID. So by default, the application ID is com.example.the project name. If you have not provided the org option with Flutter create command. So in order to change this application ID, we need to make two changes. First, let's change this. I'd like to name it com.popupbits.flutternotes.app. And next thing to change is inside Android app src main folder, there is either Kotlin or Java folder inside which you have your project. So if you are using Kotlin in Android, then you have a Kotlin and com example. So we need to change this example folder, rename this example to exactly as what you've used in your application ID. Okay, once done that, we need to make certain changes here also. Our package name becomes com.popupbits. Okay, next our manifest file, again here com.popupbits. So we need to make these changes in order to change our Android package name. So this package name is required later when we add the config file to our Firebase project. So let's check our Firebase project. It has successfully created. Let us press continue. And before adding apps, let's do a few housekeeping. Like in the authentication section, we need to enable the sign-in method. So for now, we would like the email and password based sign-in. Save. And Google sign-in, enable. Use the project name as Flutter Notes app and default email as provided and save. So we have enabled the email and password based sign-in and Google sign-in. Now in the project overview, in get started by adding Firebase to your app, press the Android icon. So our package name is the one we created, com.popupbits.flutternotes.app. Okay, and Flutter Notes Android app, let's just say, and devoke signing certificate is required if we want to use Google sign in. So let's get our debug key. So in order to get the debug key hash, we use the key tool with export cert list and v flags with alias option. The default alias is Android debug key, and the key store is inside the .android folder debug.keystore. So press enter. The default password is Android. Sorry, the password Android. So I hit the incorrect password. So just copy the SHA1 hash from here, copy and paste it in this field. So register app. Once the app is registered, just download the config file. Okay, and once the config file is downloaded, what we need to do is we just need to drag the config file and place it inside Android app folder. So in the app folder we'll have Google services.json file. Once this is available, now we can run our application. So let's run with, let's start the Pixel 2. Sorry. Let's try again. Okay. So I was unable to run in debug version because we changed the Android manifest file for the production version but not for the debug version. So just if you get the same error on the debug Android manifest.xml, just control click and in here change the package name accordingly. Once you change the package in the Android manifest, now run it again with F5. Once that is done, you should successfully be able to build your app and run. So let us first test continue with Google button. Okay. We are getting the accounts. Let's choose one of the accounts. Okay, we have successfully logged in with Google button in our application. So for now, we'll just place a logout button in our app bar in our Notes home. So Notes home, in the app bar, actions. So icon button on pressed, provider dot off user repository dot context dot sign out. Okay, and icon should be exit button. Okay, this should log out. First, let us fix the obscure password field. So let's go to our login.dart and first in the login form, text form field password, obscure test true. Okay, and in sign up again, password true, and confirm password true. Okay, so here let us check if sign up was successful or not. If not successful, then print failed to sign up. Let's do same for the login. So here, if not, print login failed, so that we can see. Okay, so first let us test sign up. test.com, password, create account. Okay, so it is giving us some error. The text was called on null. Okay, so in the sign up form we forgot to initialize these text editing controllers, so we need a init state function here. Text editing controller, underscore email is equals to text editing controller underscore password text editing controller and underscore confirm password text editing controller. Okay, so we need to hot restart as we have changed the state. Now let us go to our sign up button and try signing up. test.com, password, confirm password. So okay, we are able to successfully create and user has logged in. And let us finally test our sign in button with the user we just created. test@test.com, password is password, login. Okay, so we are able to sign in as well. So one thing that remains is showing the progress bar. So let's log out, and in the login, first let us try the continue with Google button. So let's go to our continue with Google button here. So in the raised button, what we'll do is user there is status equals status dot authenticating, then we show circular progress indicator, otherwise we show the raised button. Okay, let's do the same for our sign in button in the login form. Okay, and sign up button in the sign up form. So now if we use the email and password and press the login, we should have the progress bar. Okay, so the progress bar here is not showing because it has the same color as the background. So we make a couple of changes here. First, we wrap this with center so that progress bar is not, we just wrap the circular progress indicator with the center. Let's copy this and change it in login form as well as sign in with Google button. So here as well, and here the color should be, background color should be white. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, so we can now see the indication. So when there is something wrong, the sign in with Google button gives the error message, but login and sign up form doesn't give the error message. So this is not giving any error message. So let us fix that first. In our main form login wizard, we make a function called so message, and here what we'll do is we'll do this. So cut this, we'll call the show message from here, and in show message we'll do this, and in the login form we pass the function show error, and down here if this failed we do wizard.show error. We call this function. Same for the sign up form. Okay, and down here instead of print we call dot show error function. And finally from our login wizard where we call the login form, we pass in show error, show message. Same for the sign up form, show message. And let's do a hot restart and let's try it. Let's use anything, press login. Okay, so we have something is wrong. So we now can give the user feedback. So here again, if we try an invalid email address, it should give us the error message. Create account, validate. Oh, sorry, these two fields must be same. Let's press create account. Okay, so again, if these two fields are not same, what I can do is else show error. So here should be option to pass the message. So I'll pass the message password and confirm does not match. Okay, and to do this, what we'll do is here we'll make the message string message, and we'll provide a default value. Something is wrong, and in content instead of using this we use message show error message. So here here message. Okay, so now if we mismatch the password, create account, let's see, sign up, reset.showError. If confirm password text is not equal to password text. So okay, this else is corresponds to this. What I need to do is I need to place this inside this. Okay, that way. Okay, now the password and confirm password does not match. We get the messages. So in this tutorial we have successfully implemented the Firebase authentication in our application. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. Provide us your feedback and also suggestions like what you want in the next episode and so on. Thank you. Namaste. Welcome to episode 4 of Flutter Complete App tutorial. Up until now, we have created a new Flutter project, designed our authentication UIs, and set up Firebase authentication to authenticate our users. Now it's time to set up our database. For the database, we will be using Firestore database. First, we need to set up that Firestore database in our Firebase project that we created for this app. If you remember, in our previous episode, Flutter Authentication, we created a Flutter Notes app in our Firebase console. So, get to that project and go to the database section from the sidebar. Once in the database section, you'll be prompted to create your database. Press Create Database and we will start in the test mode so that we'll not have to set up any authentication rules, any database rules for our application for the test version. Click Next. Choose the location because you cannot change this later. So for now, I'll just use the default. Press Done. Our database is now ready. So you can see this kind of UI where you can see the data, rules, indexes, and how to use documentation. So in the data section, let us plan our data structure for our app. As this is a simple notes app, for now, we will create a notes collection manually so that we can first load the data in our UI and later create data from our UI. So let's create notes collection, press Next, and then document ID, let's keep it auto ID, and in notes we want few fields. First, title is a string. Let's keep a simple title, and then this description, it's also a string. So this is the description for my notes, and let's add a new field, created at. So this gives the created timestamp. Okay, let's select a date and time. Okay, and let's save. So now we have a notes collection and notes document, and we have a few fields. Okay, I'd like to add one more field, that is the user ID field, so we know which user created this note. For that, I'll go to authentication section, copy the user ID of my user, and in database I will add the field user ID and paste it, so that later in our app we can filter our nodes by user ID of whichever user is logged in. Let's add another document, nodes 2. Created at timestamp, date yesterday, time 8 a.m. and ID string user ID. Alright, so now we have 2 documents. You can add few more if you like. For now, I'll leave it at this. Next thing we need to do is we need to set up Firestore plugin in our application. So to do that, go to pop.dev. Once there, search Cloud Firestore. Press. So first we need to add this dependency to our popspec.yaml file. So let's open popspec.yaml file and add this as dependency. Then in the readme section, if you see, to use this plugin using Firebase console, add Android app to your project, we have done this already. Download the generated Google services.json file, we have done this also. And next, modify Android build.gradle, Android app build.gradle to add Google services plugin. We have done this already for our authentication. So I think we are ready to use it. So in order to use it, here are some documentation. So leave this for now. So once we have added the dependency, you should run flutter pop get. It is run automatically in VS Code. Okay. Now it's time to get our Firebase documents and display it in our home page. Okay. In order to work with Firestore database, I have created a generic class and a abstract module class, so that I'll share with this project. You can find it in the GitHub of this project. In this generic database service class, I use a generic type, and it has a bunch of functions like get a single document, stream single document, stream of list of documents, get a query list, so we can pass in arguments and query the documents. I'll show you how to use this DB service in order to load data, create data in our database. So it will be a lot easier than writing a custom Firestore query and mapping your data into models. So this automatically does those kind of things. In order to do that, firstly, we need to create our nodes model node. So let's create that. Node.dart. In here, let's create class node, final title, ID, description, date, time, created at, user ID. First, let us create a constructor. Okay, and we need to create another factory constructor, node.from ds. In here we get string id and map string dynamic data. From this we create our document. Title equals to data title and description user ID let's rename this user ID and title description user ID created at to date. If this is not null, we need to convert it to date and one more field ID. So this will convert a document snapshot from Firestore into our node object. Next we need to map function. Map to map. This should return a map where title description created at user ID right, and let's make this a named parameter so it is easier to create this object using this constructor. So we have our node module. Now we need to make an instance of this database service generic class to use our nodes model. So let's just do this down in this database service node. Let's import this. Let's just say nodes db is equal to database service node. So import node and then so collection name is nodes from ds should be from ds and to map should be, we get a note here, note dot to map. Okay, node doesn't extend database item, so we need to database item, and here we need to pass super ID, and here we need to pass super ID. Oh, sorry, I need to do this ID comma data and pass this to ID comma data. Okay, so I have created an instance of nodes DB that we can use to get nodes from our Firestore database. Now in the UI nodes home, here we need to load the nodes from our Firestore database. So to do that, in the body, let's add a stream builder. Okay, stream builder. So stream will be nodes db dot stream list. So it will give us a stream of list of nodes. Stream list, initial data is empty, and in snapshot, if snapshot dot has error, return text was an error. Instead of container, let's use center. Next, if not snapshot dot has data, then return circular progress indicator. Finally, if there is data, let us return list view dot builder. Item count should be snapshot dot data dot length. So this snapshot is a list of node. Let's import this node. Okay, and item builder should be context index. This should for now return list style title text snapshot dot data index dot title. Okay, this should show the list of nodes. Let's remove this comma. App is rebuilding. So I get an exception. So the exception is the plugin not found exception, I believe. Yeah, missing plugin exception. So this is because after we added the Firestore plugin, we have to rebuild our app. So it will take some time to load the Firestore and build our app. So we got an error here that says the .dex file cannot exceed 64K. If you get similar type of error, we need to enable multi-dex in our build.gradle file. So open build.gradle inside Android, inside app. Here we need to add two things. First, in the default config, add multi-dex enabled. True. And in the dependencies, add implementation for multi-dex. Now let us rebuild our application. It should now successfully build our application. Okay, it has now built our application. It's running, it's loading, and finally we can see our nodes, the two nodes that we created in our Firebase console in the Firestore. So this is how we can load data from Firestore and display it in our app. As we have used Stream Builder, whenever we change data in the backend, it is automatically displayed in our front end. So let's go and add a new node in our database and check how this automatically loads. So add new document, title, new title adding, description, created at, created at timestamp. Let's use the date, let's say of 3rd November, time is 5:30, save. So this is added, and you can see it is automatically loaded. So instead of stream builder, if we have used future builder, then we could not see those immediate changes. So depending on the use case, you can either use a stream or a future. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. The code for this tutorial will be committed and pushed to GitHub. Be sure to check it out. Namaste. Welcome to episode 5 of Flutter Complete App Tutorial series. If you remember, in the last episode, we set up Firestore in our project and we were able to load and display data from Firestore database. In this episode, we are going to create a form and allow users to add new record to database. So let us get started. The very first thing I would like to do is, in the Notes Home widget, I'd like to add a floating action button which will navigate us to our new page where we'll create our form. In the Notes Home .dart file, after stream builder, inside scaffold, pass the parameter floating action button child, and child should be icon, let's say add on pressed. So in on pressed, we should navigate to our add nodes page. So navigator dot push named add node. In order for this to work, first we'll create our add nodes page. So inside pages, add .dart, add node .dart, here import material, and let's create a stateless widget, add node page, give a app bar, and it has a single child scroll view with a column that has a list of children. Finally, in main.dart, we need to set up route so that push name, when it calls this add node, it should know which widget to load. We can do that inside our material app. We have a routes parameter. Routes parameter is a map, so the key will be our route add node, and the value will be a builder that gives context which we do not need, and that returns a widget that will be our add node page. So this is how we can set up named routes. Now if we press the add button, we are taken to add node page. In the add node page, let us now create form fields and buttons that will allow us to add nodes detail. First, let us provide padding for single child scroll view. Padding of all sides, let's say 16 points. Now in the column, let us create our fields. Text field, input decoration, level text, let's say enter title, let me duplicate this and let's make this enter description, and let's make this multi-line, max line, let's say 4. Let us separate these two widgets by size box of height 10, and again here separate by size box height 10, and let's create a button, raised button, child text save on pressed. For now, let's just keep it empty. So when you press this save button, it should save this node to database. So first let me convert this to stateful widget. It will give us an error. Let's go back and load it again. Okay, and let us create controllers for our text field. Text editing controller, title controller, description controller, and let's create a global key for our scaffold. Scaffold state. Init state. And here title controller is new text editing controller, and description controller is new text editing controller. Also, let us create description focus node so that through keyboard action we can focus description field from title field. We'll see that later how. Focus node, description node, focus node, and here let us assign our controller, title controller, and description controller, and focus node, description node. When we tap the save button, we'd like to do few things. First, if title editing controller text is empty, if it is empty, return. We do not like it to save, we'd like to show a message. So key dot current state. So this is scaffold, key is for scaffold state. So current state dot show snack bar content should be, let's say, title is required. Okay, so if we press save now, let's go back and load it again. Let's see if we have some errors displaying here. Debug console. Okay, we have an error. Text was called on null. Title controller. This is not null. Let's go back. Let's hot restart once. Restarted. Let's add this. Okay, still it's saying receiver show snack bar was called on null. Okay, so we have not applied this key to our scaffold. So key underscore key. Now let me clear this. Okay, now we get a message title is required. If we enter title and press save, there is no message. So if title is not empty, we would like to create a new note object from title and description. Note is equal to note title controller dot text description controller dot text, and created at is date time now, and finally user ID, provider of user repository, context dot user UID. So now we have our note object, and if you remember from previous tutorial, here in notes home we are using a database service class, a generic class, to load data. So notes tv, we have created notes tv and we are using this to load data. So we'll use the same notes tv to create data. So notes tv dot create item note. Oh wait, let's make this async. Oh wait, and if there is no error, key dot current state dot snack bar content text not saved successfully. Finally, we are ready to clear our fields. So title controller dot clear controller dot clear. So after adding the node to the database, we can either navigate back to the list page by doing navigator.pop, or we can just show the message, clear the description and title and stay on this page. So for now, we'd like to stay on this page. So let me add a title, new node from app, and in description, this is the node created from app, and let us press save. We are getting an error. So could not find the correct provider user repository. So it could not find the user repository. Let us check main.dart. Are we providing provider? No. So home page. So we are providing the provider in our home page. What we'd like to do is, so copy this and remove this from here. So in home page there is only consumer, and in main.dart let us wrap it with new widget, and this new widget will be our change notifier provider. Let us import user repository and also import provider package. Okay. So let us now hard restart and go to add new node from app is a node from app. Now if we press save, it should save in the database. Node saved successfully and our fields are cleared. And if we go back now, we can see new node from app in the list of nodes. So I like to add few more things in this form to make it more easier for users. First thing I'd like to do is, in the intertitle, this button should show next. This keyboard button should show next instead of check, so that when user presses this button, user can highlight the next field. We can do that by using this focus node, and here we use, first we give text input action, so that will be next, and editing complete. So when editing is complete, what we would like to do is focus scope of context dot request focus description node. So when user presses that button, we'd like to focus the description node. So now if we press on the title field, we see there is a next button, and when we press this next button, the next field is highlighted. So this is how we can use focus nodes to make forms more easier to navigate. Next, in the save, if there are no errors, what we'd like to do is we'd also like to hide the keyword if there is any by doing focus scope of context dot request focus new focus node. Okay. So now if we see another node, so I think we'd like to hide the keyword only when the node is successfully saved in the database. Now if we press save, yes, the node saved successfully and the keyword is hidden. Instead of doing this, what we can also do is, if nodes is saved successfully, we can just do navigator dot pop. That way we'll be directed back to our list page. So if we test now, navigates home page. So if we press save now, when it is saved, it navigates back to the home page, and this has no meaning, so we can hide this too. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. This is how easy it is to add new nodes in the database. In the next episode, we will learn to update existing records in the database and delete any existing records. See you next time. Namaste and welcome to part 6 of Flutter Complete App Tutorial series. In this part, we are going to improve the design of list view a little bit, and we'll add edit and delete actions, and if we have time, we'll also implement edit and delete functionalities. So let us get started. First, in order to add edit and delete actions, I'd like to use a plugin called Slidable. What that allows us is, when user slides from left to right or right to left, it opens up an action panel where we can add multiple actions. So let us view the plugin page first. So this is the plugin. Let us install this plugin in our pubspec file. So here, pubspec.yaml, let us add this dependency. Okay, and pub.get should run in a while. Before that, let us see nodes home. Okay, so here is a list view, item builder. It simply uses list style. So what I want to do is, instead of this list style, I want to develop a new widget. So in UI, let us make a widgets folder, and in here let us make a new widget called note item dot dot. Okay, here inside container, let's use this style, and this should get note. This should be final, and let us create a constructor, and here title text and note dot title. Okay, here in this builder, instead of this, so here instead of this list style, so what we'll do is return note item. Note is snapshot.data index. Okay, we should see the same output. Now in the note item, let us improve the design a little bit. Let's say first, let's give this scaffold a background color of, say, let's say 300. Okay, and container box decoration, let's say not border, colors white, and symmetric, vertical 4.0, horizontal 8.0. Okay, now in this we would like to implement our sliding panel. So let's see the readme here. How do we implement the sliding panel? So we wrap it with a slidable first. Okay, and we give it an action pin, action aspect extend ratio. So let's try this. Container wrap with wizard, and here let's paste this. Okay, and let us import the slidable package library. Okay, and finally we need a action. For here I'd like to use secondary actions. Okay, so instead of here, icon should be, let's say, delete. This is delete action, and icon should be okay, this is delete, this is fine, and this should be edit. Okay, now let us try. See, we can see edit and delete. So I think we need some changes. Okay, can we exchange this? Swap with parent. Yeah, this is better. And instead of more, this icon color should be, let's say, blue, edit, and this is delete. Edit and delete action. So we now have edit and delete action. We'd like to perform those actions. So for that, we'd like to pass a function node edit node edit delete. Let us pass these to the constructors. Okay, and here what we'll do is on edit, let's pass node, and here on delete node, let's pass the node, which node we are deleting. Here we'd like to make this a required attribute. Required. Okay, and in nodes home, let us pass those required attributes. On delete, we get a node, and edit, we get a note. So these two functions are where we'll write our delete and edit functionalities. So delete one is the easiest. So let us first implement the delete functionality. So for delete functionality, what we can do is we can use notesdb dot remove item node dot id. So if we do this, this will simply delete our node. This will delete our node. Okay, we are getting missing platform, missing or insufficient. Okay, so in the Firestore we have created, we don't have enough permission. Let me pause the video and show you the rules, get back and show you the rules and how to fix these. Okay, if you get a permission error like mine, if you go back to the database section in your project and in rules section, and somewhere you'll find the rules like this. Mine, the rule was allowed till December 11, so it is gone for now. So for now, I'll just like to keep open read and write access to everyone. After fixing the permission, now if you try again to remove the item, it should work properly and item should be removed. See? However, what we would like to do is, we'd like to get a confirmation from user before deleting the item. So let us implement the confirmation. So let us make another function. Confirm delete. In this, we will use show dialog. Context, we need to pass the context here. Build context. And this should be future. It should return future bool async return, and builder should be context. Let us return alert dialog, title text, delete, content, are you want to delete. Okay, and let us use actions, flat button, text no, unpressed. If pressed no, then we should return navigator.pop with false. Okay, and similarly, if pressed yes, navigator.pop with true. And up here, what we'll do is make this a async function, and if await confirm delete, only then we remove the item. So let us test now. Delete, we get the confirm, we say no, then this is not deleted. If we say yes, then this is deleted. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. In the next episode, we'll continue and learn to edit and update our existing nodes. Namaste. Welcome to part 7 of Flutter Complete App Tutorial series. In the previous part, we implemented the edit and delete actions. On that, we implemented delete actions. So in this episode, we are going to implement our edit action. that will open the edit page and we will be able to update our node. So let us begin. First, to allow updates, we need to make few changes to our add node page. So in add node page, what we'll do is we'll create a property called node, and we'll create a constructor for the node field. This is optional. And in init state, first what we'll do is we'll check. First we'll create a bool edit mode. So if edit mode is true, when edit mode equals to reset.note is not equal to null. If note is parsed, then this is edit mode. So here in the text controller, what we can do is if text, if it is edit mode, then we use .note.title, otherwise null. Same for the description. Otherwise null. So this way we get the editing value. And down, when we press the save button, here what we would like to do is, if edit mode we would like to update, else we'd like to add. Okay, so if edit mode notes tb dot update item node, okay, and in node id should be, if edit mode, then node.id, otherwise null. Okay, now in the nodes home, in onEdit function, we simply do dot push material page route builder here add node page, node will be node. Okay, now let us test. So when we press edit, okay, so we get the existing value. Let's test this and let's try to update it. Another node 1 2. Let's save. Okay, so it is successfully updated and we can go back. So I'd like to make few changes in the edit or add page. When we press the save button, we'd like to show up processing. So in add node page, let us create another bool processing, and let's make it false by default. False. We changed the state, so let us get back and come again. And when this is saved, on press save, first we set processing to true, and when it's done, before we navigate back, we set state processing to false. And in the save button, in child, we'll do if processing true, then we show circular progress indicator, otherwise we show save. And in on pressed, if processing, then we use a empty function, otherwise we use async. Okay, so now if I press save, this should show processing. Okay, what we want to do is, if processing, we just want null. This way, if I press edit, okay, we can see the circular progress bar and the navigates back once the processing is complete. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. In the next episode, we will continue and add more features to our app. Namaste. Welcome to part 8 of Flutter Complete App Tutorial series. In this part, we are going to implement the details functionality. So when we tap on one of these nodes, we will show the details page where we'll show the node's title and description. So let us first create our page. So in pages, let us create a new page. Nodes detail.dart. Import. So stateless widget with scaffold. Let's name it node details page, and title should be details. And on the top, let's get a node as a parameter. Node. Let's create a constructor, and this is required. And down here we have a node. First, let's use text node.title theme of context.text theme.title. Height, let's say 10. Description. Context text theme dot body 1. Okay, and in notes home, first in notes item, we'd like another function called on tap. On tap, and in the list style, note, and in notes home, similar to on edit and on delete, we use on tap. We get note, and here we navigator push route builder, and here we return nodes detail page node is node. Okay, now let's format again. So if we press this on tap, okay, we are getting some error. Try to initialize. Okay, we have not passed it in the constructor on tap. Node item, not on this dot on tap. So now if we tap, we can see the details page. Let us style it a bit. First, let us give a padding, all sides 16 points. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. So in this part, we learned to create and navigate to details page and show the details of our nodes.